We'll run down those picks first thing, Nick. Just get that out of the.
I forget. Was it GP? Was it W that you picked? I forgot to even look at W.
He
Wayfair,
threw up the
yes.
dub. Yep, he threw up the dub. That's right. That's right.
Which continues to look great and then look like shit as it goes between 38 and fucking 53.
Yeah.
All right, there's the.
I'm gonna be cursing a lot today. That's the plan.
I love that. I love that the most. I mean that I don't know if you saw, but that kind of little THO go on there.
All right, a little bit of Woodies.
Hey, hey. All right, and the tweet is twatted. There goes a cough. 1 minute into the show. Congratulations, we've got a cough already. Hey y'all. Um January 7th, 2020. Oh, it's 2025. I've got to edit that. We'll have to do that in post-production. Because there's a lot of that going on here. But what a day. Nick, you like that gap up all the way back down from yesterday?
Yeah, I think I mean NVIDIA seems to be what's weighing whatever. Didn't what's his name give like some speech at the Vegas convention and
CES, yeah.
is that what did it?
No, that's
Oh,
not what did it.
No,
what
it's
was
literally the same look. It's the same fucking playbook every day. Buy the close, sell 9:45 a.m., and then let it grind down for the rest of the fucking day. And that's literally what you've been. That's your nut in a nutshell. What's been happening for 6 months now?
Not what did it, Nick.
Yeah, I mean NVIDIA with like the outside reversal, I thought that was I mean it was just an ugly ass bar. It took all the megas down. Google's probably held up the best. Tesla's still hanging in there. Kind of held actually Tesla's holding the 393, which I was kind of thinking that it would and was gonna get pretty nervous. Should I lose you?
No, we're here.
I was gonna get a little nervous if Tesla lost that because then I thought it would go back down towards that like 380 low. Um, but like if you zoom out, like Google, the Q's basically held that 3 week tight range. So we're basically sitting there at 520. And like I'm kind of torn. I think that we're like what we're setting up for is I kind of think that we get one more kind of melt push leg higher before we go into kind of that probably longer term like a 3 to 5 month correction. Like I think it's going to be a year where it goes,
What?
yeah, like I think you're going to want to be selling going into March and buying come like August, September. I'm flipping back and forth in my head, like if
Yeah.
a year like that,
Yeah.
or if it's a year where like we're like what we're starting to see now. I would have thought we would have seen a heavier sell off this week, uh, as opposed to or even going into the end of the year than we did. So like like I kind of like go back and forth with like Monkey Banana. And he's been calling for like a good 15 to 20%, which I can kind of totally see happening, but I'm trying to play out the if then and how it's going to look and the way that today's action and how everything looks to me is I think it's going to be a push into like a push into March, but
I'm
I don't
glad
know.
you can.
I don't know.
I'm
We'll
glad
see.
you can give Monkey Banana all the credit for a potential sell-off coming up.
No, I mean
Did you tweet the stock? Sorry, did
the
stock twits tweet? I
I
don't
thought
see
it
it.
did. It didn't go.
I don't
Yeah,
see it. I
it
just, if
went.
people are listening, it's kind of hard to.
Yeah, no, it went. It's pod time. Holding bags. There it is. I see it. I can send it to you, GP. And
No,
I
just go to your
tagged you.
website. I don't know why it didn't show up.
I tagged you. I tagged Nick.
Let's see here.
I've got
Doesn't
one
show.
retweet, two retweets or likes. There it is. There's GP
Yeah.
in his blue jacket, looking all dapper Dan, Buster Brown. Sorry, Nick. You were saying you were finishing.
Yeah, I'm just trying to I'm long. Like I'm not balls to the wall long at this point. I have dry powder. I mean, I sold my NVIDIA into the gap today, but that was a trade. I'm not like a long-term holder from, forever. I'm definitely on a different time frame than MBG2. And so like I'm involved in different names than he is, but I try to let the market force me out by way of trail stops. And I don't know, like I'm letting it ride. Like and I the way that things are setting up and the way that they're looking, I think we get another leg higher from here. I
A
don't think
leg higher before a leg lower. Is that what you said?
yeah,
Giving me?
yeah. And I do think that it is gonna be I think it's gonna be an annoying one. Like I think it's gonna be a year, I think, where like you're gonna have to kind of maybe even ignore the indexes and really focus on like your individual stocks or your trades as opposed to the indices. But you know, like all the alt energy names look freaking great to me. They all got a nice pop the last few days. I still think the mega names look great. I didn't like how hard NVIDIA had sold off, but maybe that makes room for, like your AMD to finally run. AVGO and TSM still look good to me. Um, I mean, there's plenty of stuff that looks good. I don't think there's anything that's like crazy standing out as in like actively set up right now, other than kind of some of those alt energy names. Unless you're buying stuff on like some of them, I would say cybersecurity on like on the pull in. Um,
I just posted a Palo Alto chart, by the way. I
yeah,
looked at the forever ever chart and I threw that on Stock Twits. GP, where are you at? We haven't gone anywhere in 6 months. But other than that, where are you at?
To me, it sounds like we're on repeat for the most part. Every week, Nick comes in, I come in, you come, maybe not you, Ben. Nick and I come in and say, "Oh my God, there's so many amazing setups." Guess what? Next week, the same amazing setups are there. Guess what? The next week, the same amazing setups are there. It is every single motherfucking week.
Maybe they're not
And,
amazing setups.
huh?
Maybe they're
yeah,
not amazing setups.
They are amazing setups, but the market's just not ready. And until the market's ready, it's not going higher. Dude, look at so like AMBA, right? AMBA on a weekly and a monthly time frame, it's great. And then today this shit happens, right? Like
Big puke
uh
candle.
yeah,
Big,
it's not just AMBA, it's um yeah, like coin looked great yesterday, and then Bitcoin takes a massive fucking dump today. For what reason? Because Sailor's a grifter. That's the reason. But it literally started what? It's down 6 grand Bitcoin today.
yeah. It went
that's
over 100 and then back down.
Yeah. And I'm happy they made it quick because they've been doing the slow motion thing, which is a lot more frustrating in general. But um yeah, there's just a lot. It's dude, if you actually look at like the dailies, it's fucking ugly. Right? Like, even though setups are being like, look at the SPX since December 18th, we have literally been be in between the three 30-minute FOMC candles in the SPX.
Yeah, SPY's in a straight range.
Just
Spies
two,
up two
people
and a
like,
half
oh,
percent since election day.
I was talking to my group and like, oh, we're in an annoying uptrend. I'm like, yo, literally last Wednesday or Thursday, we were $2 away from the all-time highs set in July, right? Like that's not an uptrend to me. That is a sideways. You can draw the trend from April 19th and say it's an uptrend, but the reality is we haven't gone anywhere since July, and right? What was that? $2 away from that July high.
503, something like that.
Yeah. And then we hit what, like 505? So, yes, things have moved underneath. Tesla has obviously done really well, and now it's in its I'm gonna F you in the face phase of life, um, which is earlier than expected, to be honest. But that's Tesla. It's like a chameleon. It's always changing. But dude, look at Google's a great example. It's like, oh wow, Google's really good today. It cleared 200. It's game on. And look at
Womp
that.
womp.
That shit is ugly now, right? Like that's a double top. And a lot of this stuff is happening on absolutely no volume. There is no buyers, only sell pressure to the downside. So if you've been watching this market, it's essentially buy the close, sell the first half an hour, 15 minutes to a half an hour, and then the rest of the day, I think we had one trend day, the day we bought them last Wednesday or Thursday, whatever it was. And that wasn't even a clean trend. It was annoying as fuck. Um, it's been sell 10 a.m. and then just faded the rest of the afternoon. And so to me, fine, things are setting up great, dude. Like, if you got to eat and this is how you got to feed your family, you haven't made fucking real money unless you're day trading every 5 minutes, 10 minutes in a while, right? Like, you can swing some stuff, you can do some stuff, but that you're essentially required to go flat every single hour, every single day to be neutral, right? And then you got like I see like the Nvidia is like, dude, like yesterday you were talking about Nvidia this, Nvidia that, making fun of people, and then today it's down $8, and you're like, oh, this is a great buying opportunity. You're like, what? Huh? You
Yeah.
went flat at the exact right moments, right when you thought it was breaking out. So there's a lot of that stuff going on to it. I'm just over it. Reminds me of 2015, 2016. We we break out of all-time highs, consolidate for 16 months near all-time highs. It's a big range, just this, and then we take off. So I can see what you're saying, Nick. I think we're gonna be very similar to either 2015, 2016, or 2017, which is a year that you just want to stay long and let it grind higher.
Yeah, for sure. Like the money was kind of rotating for a while. It was like, all these quantum computing names absolutely ripped. And if you were on it initially, the entries were pretty easy and pretty low risk, but you don't really know what you're buying. And so you had to, at least the way that I played them was to get down to runner size pretty quickly. And then I'm just letting a runner run. Same thing with kind of like the drones, um, the robots, like you're buying momentum, and like the strategy I think is like you're buying a break, you're either buying like the low end of the base, you're either buying that, you're buying the breakout, or you're buying a pull into like one of the major moving averages and then kind of letting it ride. But there's so much speculation, and I don't think most of these like momentum names are moving off of some forward perception of like what the future is going to be. And like it's kind of like it reminds me a lot of like kind of 2020, even 2021, at least in my memory, in terms of like all of the like Kathy names that were just absolutely ripping, right? Like, yeah, it's great that you had this genomic, whatever, and that it's going to do this, but like they never really came to fruition, or at least like the perception hasn't been realized yet, essentially. So it's like there are names and like a lot of like I think there are momentum trades and they have been out there. It's just if like you're not on those pre-market movers, you're gonna miss the moves, especially if you're focused on the more, I don't know, kind of
Give me
like more
one name. Give me
like
one name, Nick. I'd like
what's
to
that?
look at the charts. Give me one name you're talking about so I can look at the chart.
Like RGTI. Well, that's breaking out right now, or that's
That was part of this trade.
like RGTI or Jobby were probably the two that stick out. Serve also SERV. Um, Serve was a big one. That one was kind of frustrating for me in particular because the sell bars were hard and they were big, but they were contained. So if you're trailing these things by like let's say the 10 or the 20, you're still riding. But if you're picking apart the daily bars, like you're absolutely getting torn apart. Like kind of how you were, saying earlier as far as like, you know, buying the close, selling the open, or vice versa. Because if you look, let's say if you pull up like the serve chart, for instance.
Well,
I'm
I
gonna
got the RGT, the spaghetti chart in front of me here.
Yeah.
Um, and so, like,
So like
yeah, I get that you had to have the entry at the right place and then you kind of stay long. Um, but I don't know. I remember what these used to look like, and they were much cleaner uptrends. This is one green day, one red day, one green day, one red day, one green day, one red day, one green day, one like this is this is indicative of the type of market we've had for a while now, which is like there's uptrends for sure, but they are not clean by any means, in my opinion, right? Like obviously, if you smooth it out by going to the weekly, sure, everything's fucking clean at that point. Um, but if you're looking at the daily, which is where people are looking daily, they're not looking at these moves. Like here, I'll look at the first candle that it kind of looked suspect was on 12/11. It went to a high of 796, and the next day it closed at 597. That's a
yeah.
40% swing, dude. Like that's not normal uptrend in my opinion, right? It's been up a lot and stuff like that, but like that's not stomachable for most people, even if you're in at $2.
Especially if you're in like multiple.
Yep.
Um, I don't know. You had to be a real, I don't know. You had to be like a real believer.
You just have to be a day trader, my friend. Like that's what this market is giving you right now, which is it's giving you half an hour to hour trends on the upside for the most part, and on the downside, you're getting multi-hour trends. And the trend ends at 3:45 right before the market closes, and then restarts at 10 a.m. the next day on the downside. And that's been my view over a lot of stuff. Yes, things have obviously Tesla has gone up 100 and something percent. I'm not arguing that things haven't moved, but overall stuff is not like clean in my opinion at all. And even Tesla is behaving pretty crappy compared to previous all-time high breakouts, right? Like we're back under. We got back, we have not gotten back over. And um I don't I guess I don't see anything to worry about. I think it's just frustration. And I know you guys are going to say it every time GP gets frustrated, the market then finally resolves. And I'm like, no, I've been frustrated for 6 months. Market hasn't done shit. So fuck off. But
It's
go
going to
ahead.
resolve.
There's a
Go ahead,
lot of,
Ben. Give us your thoughts, Ben. You asking all the questions.
It's going to resolve. I mean, I've been pretty clear. I haven't changed my tune at all. It's going to resolve to the downside. We're going to have a leg lower. I don't want that to happen. Um, we keep knocking at these levels and getting sold off. Eventually, you're going to break through. Doesn't seem to be those animal spirits and the volume of buying. I mean, as much as has been made post-election of, oh, we're going higher, Trump daddy's here to take us higher. We're 5% up on the Qs in 2 months, and we're 2.5% up on the SPY in 2 months. And yeah, sure, you can have these days of 3.5% lower on the Qs. We're only about 1.3% today. But the volume, as you like to point out, GP, just ain't there, my brothers. There's not the volume there taking us higher. And I don't know whether trading is not in full force by everyone, but this seems to be a slow, drawn out January thus far. I mean, you would have thought yesterday that we were fucking having a parade because we gapped up to start the day. Well, now it looks like everybody's just sick. And
Well,
this comes back to what I said. Volatility often precedes a trend change. And yeah, if you want to say that we're nowhere, then the trend could change up or down. But long term, right? We've been up since August, right? So if you take out July and just go to August, we've been up. And if you think that there's a trend change, the next leg will be down. And does that mean we come into 472-ish on the spies, 473, 475, somewhere in there? I don't know. But I'm going to say the prices are below 500 than in the five teens. And a lot of people aren't going to like that. I don't like saying it. I don't see these great setups that you guys keep saying these are unbelievable setups. The longer they get drawn out, the more I dislike them. Um, yeah, wider the base, higher out in space, but bases, as we've seen in name after name, they can keep going, right? They can keep chopping you up. But I don't see anything to be excited about. And I've been bullish more on crypto lately. But at the same time, until Bitcoin dominance takes a dip, all the other tokens are at the whim of Bitcoin. And we're still like 75 or 57% on Bitcoin dominance. Let me make sure that's right. Yeah, 57.8% Bitcoin dominance. Hasn't even made a new low yet. I think we are in this perpetual state of chop until we're not. And at some point this quarter, Nick, that's the reason why I was going, when you were saying a leg down. At some point this quarter, we're going to get hit with oh shit, and there's going to be a whole lot of people holding the bag. That doesn't mean we're going to zero. That doesn't mean we're going to have a huge crash, but we're going to have probably a 10 to 15% correction, and that's going to be done pretty quickly. You take the stairs up, the elevator down. That's where I've been. That's where I'm still at. So the longer we sit here and say, well, we got good setups, but it's just not playing out, the more that makes me in my conviction that we are nowhere near going higher. And I reserve the right to be wrong because I often am.
yeah, I think yeah, I'm not in that camp. I think we see 6,300 in S&P before we go lower. And then you get your 10% correction, and it brings us right back to where the fuck we've been. So
So you don't think we're going to dip below 500?
Huh?
You don't think we're going to go under 500?
The S&P?
Yeah.
I don't
No,
think we're going S&P, right? I don't think
no.
so.
I was talking the Qs.
Qs can go under 500 in the next 5 minutes.
Tomorrow. Yeah, I know.
Dude,
No,
that's
I don't think the S&P is going down to 500. No.
no, I'm saying S&P is going to 6,300 or 630 first, and then we can get our 10% correction, which just brings us back to this base that we've been building for the last 6 months.
I will say we are going to be closer to 570 than we are 630. I would say the bottom end comes in before the top end.
Yeah, it's fair. It's dude, like based on how things refuse to go higher, I can understand it, but on the downside, I'm not seeing distributive volume. I think that's what's holding me back from that conversation because I understand what you're saying on the frustration and the sideways chop stuff, but I just don't see the distributed volume. And it's possible that what was it, Wednesday or Thursday when we had that massive volume bar in
Yep.
the queues and the SPY could be exactly like January 24th, 2022. Do you remember that one? In our entire downtrend in 2022, the biggest volume actually occurred on the front side of that correction, which was January 24th, 2022.
To the day.
I know my shit. Yeah. So that's actually when the biggest volume occurred throughout this whole period ever. Not the Russia volume, not the anything volume, but that one.
We haven't had that kind of volume at all since that time.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep. Yep.
it has been years since we had that kind of buy volume.
And it marked a short-term bottom, and then it that's when the volume thesis semi fell apart for me because I'm like, wow, that's
2011 was the last time we've had that kind of volume,
What
and
was
we
that
haven't
date?
had it
What?
since.
January 24th, 2022. It was after the Netflix earnings. We had a terrible couple of days into Friday. We gapped down on Friday and had a monster reversal, but that was very short-lived.
No.
I mean, just across the
Oh, I
board.
remember that one. Fuck me.
I mean, we're seeing low volume, not just it's low volume in comparison to the last 4.5 years. That's where we're at right now. That's how much low volume we're getting. We're near the lows of the last 4 years.
I don't mind, so I don't mind the low volume on the upside. I do mind it on the downside because to me it doesn't necessarily confirm distribution, right? So I expect in a market that everyone fucking hates, has hated, some people are still calling it the bear market rally. Um, there's still so many people who don't like this market, think it's going to crash at any point in time. I would expect that volume to go to the upside is going to be harder to find because people just don't believe, and that you can climb the wall of worry on lower volume. But in distribution volume near the top, I would love to see a lot more of that for me to have more direction, which is I'm in the neutral camp for the most part right now, right? Because nothing is going anywhere, and even downside just doesn't. Outside of that 190-minute beast move down during FOMC, there hasn't been anything else.
All right, so Nick, you posted a chart earlier about Apple that you were expecting a leg down there, right?
I mean, it sure looked like it was taking out that pivot low.
It looks pukey, right?
Yeah.
So
If you remove the moving averages, I mean, even if it does leg lower, I'd be a buyer in the 230s. At least initially. If that couldn't hold, then sure, then I would think it's probably pushing into at least the 200-day moving average, so like 210 to 215. At
I'm
a
not
certain point, I guess if it drops, if it didn't actually, I take that back. If it didn't hold like the 230s, oh wait, no, yeah, I'd say probably back to the two teens.
I'm not saying that we have to have mega cap rallying as a whole, but we've talked in the past many times as you need two or three of them at least somewhat treading water, right? Um, Apple leg lower potentially. Tesla, eh. Google looks good, but we already said that GP came that might be a double top. Amazon. What do you guys think Amazon looks like? I think it looks like a mini version of the Qs right now, but you tell me.
Yeah, I mean, it's sitting like it's in like a flag, like it's on the weekly, it's a 5 week tight. The 10 week, the 50 day is catching up. And I think that's all that's happening right now is like a lot of names are stretched from the 50 day.
Microsoft.
We're just chopping around, waiting for the moving average to catch up before
Microsoft.
Microsoft, I don't, of them, Microsoft is probably my least favorite.
Netflix.
I think
GP, I'll let you
Netflix actually
comment.
looks pretty damn good.
You
Yeah.
think Netflix looks good?
I
Yeah.
think so, right? Like it's been weak for multiple weeks, and what do we have moved like 40, 50 points, which is nothing for Netflix. Um, Even today it went green, right? It was trying to go green multiple times. It's even on the verge of going green as we're talking right now, right? It's $1 off.
Yeah, it's at 0.06%. Yeah, 50 cents off.
Yeah. So to me, I think, yeah, there's been a lot of selling in Netflix, but I don't think it looks bad here. It hasn't even broken the pivot low, which I would have expected. It is won't even tag the 50 SMA. It's literally like 28, 18 points away, and at the lows, maybe 7 or 8 points away. Like people are coming in and buying before it even gets to the 50 SMA. So to me, Netflix is probably my one reason why I continue to remain
Yep.
bullish, because I would have liked to see this breakdown, and that may happen tomorrow. I'm not saying it won't, but
Right.
until I see Netflix break down this 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 stock, which was the first, let me say it again, the first one to bottom in 2022, is still looking like it wants to go higher, tells me that the market is just in consistent FAFO mode. And if Netflix breaks down tomorrow, then we can have that conversation, right? About whether this market goes lower. But to me,
I'm not saying it is or it's not. I'm getting your guys' gut reaction. I'm just going through a list of megas and you tell me what they
no,
look
but
like.
I wanted to point this one out before we started the conversation, which was that Netflix is the one that's giving me the hope. I think is I was I was kind of bearish like a couple of weeks ago and was expecting a move down, and it has trickled down, but that's my whole point. It's trickled down. And there hasn't been a ton of volume selling to the downside either. And the last 2 days, it's tried to sell off, and as soon as it tries to get to that 870 level, buyers step in and it just goes back up higher. So
What do we think about NVIDIA then?
I think Nvidia's been a short on my list since November. No, sorry, September, October. Um, and it continues to not be a short, but not be a long either, unless you're a day trader. It is not, to me, it's not a long. If you were like, hey, I bought Nvidia last week at 136 and now it's up to whatever, it was like 152, then you're wrong. I'm right. Sure, absolutely. But
NVIDIA?
Yeah, too heavy. It's in a
You're
range.
buying it here or no?
No.
All right, Meta. Last one.
Meta's probably one of my favorite. I like Meta. Probably one of, other than Google, probably one of the stronger of the megas today. Um, Basically held right off the 10 and the 20. I guess we'll kind of see how the close goes. We've been wedging higher since whatever, like 9 o'clock this morning. So if we roll it here and we really have like a weak close, my tune might change a little bit. But
Nice
either way, I
bounce off
don't
the
think
9 daily.
Meta's like where the action's going to be this year. So I'm not really.
Your take on Meta?
I don't like Meta.
So at best, out of all those names that we mentioned, there's two that we think are pretty good that we can come to a consensus on.
I like Tesla, I like Netflix, I like Amazon and Google, but I'm looking more at the weekly than the intraday or daily. So
Yep.
those are the names I have. Even Apple, I don't think it's that bad. It's retesting kind of a level. There's not a ton of volume sell off. I don't think Apple's bad. Meta is one of those like we've literally been here since fucking how long? So, and even yesterday after hours on the NVIDIA news, it got to within I think five
A
or 10
month.
cents.
Been here a month.
Yeah. No, but like, didn't we tagged what was this? 602 back in you know in October, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, if you want to take it all the way down to the lower range, yeah, sure, we can say
no, that was the high of the day at the time, right? And then double
yeah.
top went down. It's not going anywhere, right? I think that's the thing for me.
But consensus wise, I think we can agree on two. We can agree on Netflix, yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't really have another one, but you two liked
Google,
Google,
Amazon
Amazon.
Amazon, yeah.
and Tesla. They both look like they're flagging to me. And Tesla's holding the 9-week
All right.
moving average, the 40-day moving average. So
We will take this mega cap poll every week until something changes.
sure.
We gotta get into our stock picks. We didn't do it last week because Nick wasn't here.
So can we just go over one more stock, right?
Absolutely.
So take a look at HIMS.
I know GP and Nicholas love some hymns.
Yeah.
So the thing that I've noticed as last year was ending and this year was starting is that we had a lot of monthly failures, but weekly reclaims because of the Friday move up. So HIMS technically failed on the yearly. It closed below the all-time high pivot. But it's now reclaimed it, right? It closed underneath it. And now it's reclaimed it and pushing higher. It kind of, right? So this is something that should be on your radar. Monster growth, discrete universe of male drugs.
I totally
Technically
even.
it's acting
Huh.
somewhat shitty, but mostly okay. So it's consolidating in my opinion. And it's on lower volume. So something to watch here. Obviously, if we break back below the 2543 pivot, which is the prior all-time highs, then it's a failed conversation. But I do find it interesting that so many charts failed on monthly, quarterly, and yearly breakouts into end of 2024. And then by the end of the week, which is 2 days later, they had all reclaimed their failures. So I don't know what to make of it, but I just something I noticed. That's why I wanted to talk about hymns.
Yeah, I put in a 3-week tight last week too.
Yeah, your 3-week tights become 16-week tights. They don't go anywhere.
I've liked using them as kind of places for both. Like if I start to see price kind of pull in, I like to see if those areas kind of act as a magnet. Um, so for like hymns, for instance, like if someone wasn't in the trade exist currently, I would risk that wick from last week and just throw my stop at 2350 and be fucking balls to the wall long right here.
Yeah.
Balls to the wall long right here.
Literally.
Are you still
long?
long?
I mean, I didn't realize that it was. I was just super bullish on it because it's a boner pill. I didn't realize the whole spectrum of like.
Yeah, hair growth, all kinds of shit.
It's got the GLP-1 like weight
Yep.
loss stuff. I mean,
Yep.
there's more to it than I think I initially realized, but I
And the
like it.
GLP stuff is not even part of their current earnings, right? That's something that they want to incorporate. This is based on their existing business structure, which is up 77% quarter over quarter, which I think is phenomenal, right? Whether they can sustain it or not is a different conversation. And it's not expensive by any means.
Yeah, yeah.
Here we go. We're approaching 3 p.m. So bounce everything so they can sell it down at 10 a.m. tomorrow. You know what looks fantastic ever since the Trump year started?
What's
Awesome
that?
Scientific.
Solar.
Oh,
Solar.
Look at FSLR. Look at Enphase. Look at how
Last
it
week, weren't you shitting on solar?
That was probably me, but look at NXT.
Yep, I have that on my list too. But look at First Solar, right? To me, probably to everyone, it's the leader in the bunch of solar, and it has not flinched today. Not once. Oh well, maybe a little bit, but not really. It is up 4 or 5% for solar end phase on a day like this. It was up yesterday. No, it wasn't up yesterday, but it's been up like 3 or 4 out of the first 4 days. And that kind of makes sense. Tesla reported its numbers and their energy business is growing crazy, which obviously is really good for all solar names, but Tesla itself. So I think solar looks pretty
I
good.
like some
Dude, the
FSLR.
banks look good.
Airlines
Banks look
look
good.
fantastic.
What?
Airlines.
Airlines look good. Ralph Lauren looks good.
Take a look at Boston Scientific breaking out today.
Yeah, there's a decent amount of stuff that looks pretty good.
Yeah, Boston Scientific actually looks really
I
good.
I'll be like, I think 100%. I think it's going to be a year to not really get too bogged down with the megas or the indices. And I think the best traders are going to be focusing more on the weekly charts than the daily charts. It just in kind of how I see things kind of shaping up is kind of what I think is how the year is going to go.
I know you guys don't want to talk about the fucking stock champion here that I am. We're going to get into our picks.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wayfair GP, you're a buyer at 56.18 on New Year's Eve. It closed 44.34. That would be a gain of or a loss of 21%.
Dude,
So
is that the same as the last three?
yeah, no, GP, you are not our stock picking champion. Again,
Yes.
have you won this competition at all? No, you haven't. It's been between me and Nick and Cookie and his 3x levered ETF.
Yes.
Nicholas, VRT Vertiv. You were a buyer at 99.49 on New Year's Eve. It ended at $113.61 for a grand total of 14.19. Great job, Nick. 14.19% gain. And GP's going to say he had snow, but he gave it to me. But I was the buyer of snow at 114.86, and it finished at 154.41 on New Year's Eve, a gain of 39%.
Damn, GP, you should have stuck with it.
And just because I'm petty like that, I also looked up PayPal, and had I stuck with my original pick, PayPal, I still would have won said competition.
Yeah.
Over snow?
No, if snow, if you had kept snow, then no, you would have won. But you did not keep snow. If
That's okay.
I hadn't taken snow because you kicked it to the curb, I would have still won said competition with PayPal. Is the point that I'm making. So
Those are fighting. Those are some fighting words right there.
I'm spicy today. I'm trying to get the best out of GP. Everybody loves spicy GP, and I'm trying to get some more of it.
I don't really care about these stock picks. Like it doesn't fucking matter to me.
I don't really care about these fucking stock picks. I don't really care about these fucking stock picks. So we're done with the game. We played it for a year and we're done.
No. I'll keep playing. I just don't give two flying fucks, right? Like it's just
All right.
it's just how it goes. I'm happy to pick another loser for all you people. Fuck off.
This is you. This is for you. This is not for other people. This is bragging rights amongst friends. We need to put a bet behind this. This is
Yeah,
what
totally.
we need to do to make it worthwhile. Like somebody has to come on the show in a chicken suit or some shit.
Or get a tattoo.
Not gonna get a tattoo, but I'm happy to wear my Minions onesie if I lose again.
All right, you heard it here first. If GP loses again, he has to wear his Minions onesie on the next show.
And by loses, that means coming in at the bottom, not in the middle.
Not to be second, you have to be third.
Yes.
I think you've got a pretty strong record at coming in third, though.
Yeah, I don't give two shits. That's
So
the
be on the lookout, everyone, next week for our GP doesn't give a shit stock picks. That's sponsored by GP. Our GP.
I'm literally gonna pick the shittiest looking chart on the planet, and that's gonna be my pick.
Good. Good. Can't wait. Can't wait.
And the pick can be long or short, right?
Yes.
Okay. Not that shorting is fun in this market, to be honest, but that's what it is.
Yes. But
There's a lot of energy names that are starting to perk up. Oh, GME is going out strong. Son of a bitch.
GME is going.
Yeah. Oh, it's ripping. It's ripping.
He said, "Shit."
It's up $1.27, and we talk about ripping.
I know.
What the fuck kind of world are we in? See what I mean? This is what these last 6 months has done to people. Just talking about GME ripping at $1.27.
It's pushing highs. It's just picking up some steam right now.
I made some buys over the last week. Just not to sound all negative Nelly all the time. I put some money to work while I was still taking money out of the market.
Anything exciting?
No, some of my same shit. I bought some more Sentinel-1.
Sentinel-1.
Good old S.
All right.
Good old S. It might be trying to leg down, but I figured, hey, I sold some that I bought higher at this same level, so let's buy it back with a cheaper cost basis.
What are your thoughts on AMD?
Everybody, excuse me, everybody loves AMD right now. GP is one of the AMD lovers. You still an AMD lover today, GP?
So the biggest thing about AMD is how many people are calling the bottom on it. It's just it is such a crowded trade right now that they need to be wiped off the planet. So
you think it's like 100? Like, would you throw it
90?
90?
90 is kind of what I have, but I'm probably
right.
gonna just throw in a tight stop. I have bought, but the contrarian side of me and everyone constantly pumping it up. Oh, Jim Cramer sold his AMD. It's time to go long. All these contrarian, arbitrary bullshit things that are going on, and the reality is, price action is maybe $8 off the lows or $10 off the lows. And even on today, when where am I here? Lam Research, QCOM, AMAT, Mu, Intel, all are outperforming NVIDIA. AMD is still shitting the bed with its cousin.
Sure.
Exactly.
So, like in opportunities, to me, the way I look at this stuff is in the moments where you have your opportunity to outshine your competitors, you are still shitting down with them. Yes, it did try to go green, so that's always a good sign. But with the amount of people being bullish, I'd like to see volume come in. But has anyone seen any volume come in?
No.
Yeah, exactly. So this to me is there's gonna need to be a liquidity grab for this to push higher. It's got to be a point where everyone gives up and says no more, no more, which I don't think will ever really happen with AMD, because they just think it's the same as NVIDIA, but just its little brother, and it has underperformed NVIDIA for the better part of 20 something years.
Get some intel.
I'm not touching any of this shit, dude. Like we're going up 50 cents, down 32 cents, up 40 cents, down 80 cents. Like it's a waste of like energy for trading for me. And capital across the board. Like I can talk about my frustrations. How about we talk about frustrations?
Anything can trade, right?
Yes.
I've said this over and over and over and over. And if you're trading AMD and you got in earlier last week or at the end or middle of December and you traded it, congratulations. Like I posted this at some point in December. AMD, everybody's got a chart, right? And that's just to say everybody can call the bottom. Everybody can say it's a buy here, but it still looks suspect to me. And I love AMD. I'm still very long AMD, but I'm not ready to buy AMD yet. And I say buy some Intel, not because I like Intel, but any piece of shit can trade. And Intel is at least going to see a pop at some point once they say who their new CEO is going to be, because they have been a classic fuckery shop for years. So they're going to get somebody new, just like when they got Gelsinger, and you're going to see positive price action for a few days. So if you're just looking for a trade, not to be in the crowded trade with AMD, I've looked at Intel. And yes, this is coming from the person who has consistently shit on Intel for years.
Yeah.
So I understand. Like I love AMD as a company, Lisa Sue. I still love you. But right now, I don't like the price action in the stock, and it's too crowded. I'd rather be somewhere that people aren't, that I know that there's going to be something that's going to come up that's going to make the stock price pop. Now, does it mean that Intel is going to sustain that price pop? Probably not. I don't think so. It usually doesn't. But hey, it's in the cards. It's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. But my whole thing has with Intel, it's a complete contrarian trade, right?
Yep.
It's if NVIDIA is going down, Intel is going up. It's literally how the only way it kind of trades, right? Unless there's a CEO news type event. It's if you're looking day to day, oh, NVIDIA is red. Oh, look, Intel's green, right? And Intel's green by like 30, 40 cents. It's not a lot by any means, but
Yeah.
you're just seeing it. So yeah, I can see that. You know what
Yeah.
I like a
I'm
lot?
not saying it's going to pop to $25 overnight. I'm not saying it's going to $30 and closing the gap overnight. I'm not saying that at all. I'm sure there'd be a lot of bag holders that would love if that were the situation. They probably still wouldn't sell. But I think there's a trade to be made there as opposed to waiting on the consistently poor price action of AMD. That's just my 2 cents. Nick, do you have an opinion?
On AMD. The reason I ask is just because looking again, I'm looking at the weekly chart. It does have kind of a pretty looking like massive descending wedge there.
Yeah.
And it's basically sitting right on that lower touch. So, but at the same time, every time I've drawn a wedge on AMD, the bottom's falling out. So,
Exactly.
I'm just saying it's like a kind of a low risk spot if
I
we're so inclined. But the chips in general, I think, I don't know. It seems like not a not a spot to be right now.
The
I was going
Decibel
to ask about
look
both
at
like energy, not necessarily like XOM and Oxy, but like kind of all the other alt energy names. Like energy actually looks really good to me.
anything to say that we haven't said about MicroStrategy?
Like,
no. Is that the question we have?
Yeah, we had a comment about MSTR, and we kind of covered in phase with the solars earlier. You think in phase can pop some more, GP?
It can and it cannot. I don't like it. I can't tell you day to day stuff anymore. We're not
We're not
we're
in the
not
day
in
to
it.
day.
Huh?
No, go ahead.
we're not in a kind of a trending market. Like what yesterday I would have imagined on the gap up yesterday, the way I was looking at that was it'd be a little bit of fade and then push up higher to at least the top part of the range. And the fade just kept fading and just kept fading and just kept fading. And so my initial thought was this morning when it popped, I might fade it, and you would have been right. Just buy some puts and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't have a day-to-day thought process on much right now. Less is more.
Yeah, totally.
MSTR Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The chart just doesn't look good to me. I think uh, it all depends on, you should already be long. Like you shouldn't be, like you should have been long through like 150, 100, 200 bucks. Like it's in I don't want to say no man's land, but it's in like kind of a spot where if you're gonna get whipped around. I don't know what he said or what was said. I don't know what the fucker's all about. But I mean, to me, it looks like it's going back after 200.
GP, the one name that you like, are you going to stick with Hims or are you going to choose something else? Just say, hey, I love it.
Netflix just went green, by the way. Hymns, I like hymns. I also like Celsius, but that's a multi-month bottoming process. I don't really care what it does day to day. Um, and the other one I really like is Okta,
Okta.
Yeah.
I was actually looking at Okta the other day.
right? Like it held the 9-week moving average. It's rising. It's right at the top of the kind of the multi-year base here. There's a lot of volume to boot on of accumulation in this base. And so when you ask me what looks good, something that tags the 9 weekly in the base and approaches the bottom of the base, this to me looks good. Is it actually going to do anything? Who the fuck knows, right? But so this looks good. Whether it does anything or not, who knows?
I've got an alert set for 91. I want to see it go over 91 and sustain that.
Yeah, I would love to see anything sustain anything at all. That would be great. Any move, yep, that would be fantastic.
Well,
But
that would clear the range that it's bumped up against to over the last 2.5 years. That would also cross the moving averages all to the upside.
yeah,
That would be indicative of a stock or a name that's trending, right? If that were to
yeah.
happen.
It tagged the 200-day bang on exactly to the penny, on the money, and then put in a wick. So, like, you can't like what when I learned how to do this stuff, the assumption in a lot of these things, especially after these bases, is that the first test of the 200 overhead 200-day moving average always gets rejected. And if it doesn't, it's an insanely strong stop. But the second test is usually the more powerful one where the buyers step in and it pushes through. We haven't seen that in a couple of years where we get like second, third, fourth, fifth test of the 200-day. It's literally just the most meaningless average over the last couple of years, right? Like, and so yeah, it rejected the 200-day, kind of in a flag. It's in the middle of the base. It's weekly, looks good, but is anything ever going to move? I don't know. I don't know. And I can 100% tell you is if the market does take another leg lower, like Ben thinks we're going to, then Okta will be one of the first to die.
Yeah. Nick, one or two names you like going into the rest of the week?
I like INSP and HQY.
Ion,
INSP.
INSP, Inspire. What was the other one?
HQY.
HQY. Health Equity. All
Yeah.
right.
I like the monthly base on that thing so much. I mean, it's got to take out that pivot high for it to obviously continue, but looks like a launch pad to me.
I jumped on the Pfizer long train with you, GP.
Nice.
So I'm in what was that, about 26 bucks, 26.50, something like that.
Yeah, that's the average I got into. The only difference is I got a year of dividends.
Yep, 26.50-ish. So that and Sentinel One are my two buys. So that's what I like heading through the week, but we'll see how things go. Hey, my brothers, that's been an hour.
Nice.
Yeah.
Y'all feel good now? You feel any better? You want to rant some more later? We can do it
I'm
on.
happy to rant more now, but I gotta watch this market, and I'm gonna actually choose to watch paint dry.
We're gonna do it over our group text then.
Sure,
All
sure,
right,
sure, sure. Um, yeah, I don't got much.
peace out. Love you. Bye.